And we're live.
Hello, folks. So Scott and I are back this week with another great topic. So this week I wanted to talk to folks about how to choose the best dog for your family, which I think is really important because a lot of times, even myself, before I became a dog trainer, you get caught up in choosing like the cutest dog or whatever you're looking for in a dog. Ideally, there's a few other things you want to look for besides the cuteness. And so there's certain questions that I want to go through that you should ask yourself to figure out what dog's a perfect fit for your family. Um, so I know you have Archie, and he's a
Yes,
sheepadoodle. Before I even get
yes.
started, what did you look for when you was looking for a dog, or did you look for anything?
We looked for a few things. So we more specific to our situation. So I was with my wife, and we knew that eventually we're going to start a family. So we bounced around from a couple of breeds. So we looked at different breeds that were good with kids, and
Yep.
then we looked. So we were initially looking at like a chocolate lab, and then
Hmm.
we were thinking, okay, but what happens if the child is like allergic to dogs? So then we start to look at hypoallergenic dogs.
Exactly.
And then Archie is a sheepadoodle, so he's an English sheepdog mixed with a poodle. Both dog breeds are hair, not fur, so
Yep.
they're both hypo, and so that made sense. And then the sheepadoodle temperament, because we sort of researched a bit, was really
Hmm.
good with animal, with really good with family, really good with with kids,
Yep.
and just really good temperament, playful.
Yep.
And we knew actually ended up getting to know what we had. My wife had a coworker that had a sheepadoodle, and like really good feedback. And
Hmm.
so we were able to locate a good breeder, and then we ended up going that route. But we
Yeah.
did a lot of research, I would say. We sort of
Yeah,
tried
I
to
was
figure
gonna say it
temperament.
sounds like you did a lot of research because everything you just said is like, okay, let's wrap up the slide, it's done. But no, you actually did all the right things to searching for a right dog. And so everything you just discussed, I want to go through and have the viewers, and if you're gonna get a dog, ask themselves the same questions.
Yeah.
It sounds like you did a great. And so, how was Archie? Was he everything you expected when you was doing the research?
I would say he was like 90%. The one thing we had, my wife's coworker had a sheepadoodle. He loved to chase a ball, and the
Yep.
coworker said, "Oh, I'll just throw the ball. He'll chase the ball like for days. I'll just watch the hockey game. I keep throwing a tennis ball." Archie will not chase anything. He will not chase a ball. The only thing
Yep.
he wants to chase is people and dogs, and only
Mhm.
people when or no, he wants people to chase him when he's got something valuable, and then
Yep.
he wants other dogs to chase him. And once in a while, he'll like chase other dogs in
But he's
like
like,
the
I'm
dog
not
park.
chasing anything. I'm not
He's
chasing.
not
Yeah.
chasing a ball.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
this is a whole separate live, but to talk a little bit about that shortly. Dogs don't automatically know how to play fetch or know how to
yeah,
chase and retrieve and stuff. So we actually have to teach them that. If your dog does do that, it's great. But honestly, it's something we have to teach them. So give Archie a little
yeah.
break. Let's just say he was like
Yeah, we're cool.
95%.
He
All
was
right,
good
all right.
otherwise, so no complaints. So yeah,
Yep.
definitely.
And so, jumping into the questions you want to ask yourself. So, one question you should ask yourself before you get a family dog is what size is right for your family dog?
Yeah,
So, when you want to think about dogs, there's small dogs, obviously. Oh, that's my dog itching his ear. Large dogs or something in between. Size does matter because if you live in an apartment, obviously, small dogs may be best. And, even though you want a medium dog, they may take up a lot of space. So you want to take that into consideration
yeah,
if you're searching for a dog, your living arrangements, whether that's a house. I guess not even a living arrangement, the spacing because you can have a house that's small and it may not be appropriate for the dog. So just thinking about the spacing and where you live in the sizing of the dog as well. Just because it's a medium dog and it may be low tempered, it still may take up a lot of space. So
yeah.
thinking about the
You have to
size.
want to do the work too, right? So if you're in a small, like we're in a 700 square foot condo, Archie's
Mhm.
an 80-pound dog, but we take him out for like he's outside at least 4 or 5 times a day. So like
Exactly.
you have to know you have to do the work if you're gonna get a bigger dog
Exactly.
in a smaller space.
Exactly. Yep. And so just know if you do have your dog in an apartment and say it's like a Bernedoodle, which is a big kind of mountain dog, then you're probably
Yeah,
gonna have to just know that you're gonna have to put in extra work to do exercise, whatever it is for that breed. I'm not saying
yeah,
you can't have the dog that's not like Scott said, just making sure you're able to put in the work. Speaking of health and everything, the next thing you want to ask yourself is is a dog you're getting prone to medical conditions, which is going to drive up costs in the future. Some breeds, yeah, they may have, like I said, amazing personalities, but at the same time, just No, I remember getting my lab, a quick story. I remember getting my lab before I became a dog trainer, and the vet telling me like, oh, they're prone for like hip or leg stuff, we should do the surgery now. And I'm like, wait a minute. I thought labs were like the best dogs. I had no clue about it. And so those are things you want to look at before getting a dog and seeing what they're prone for. It doesn't mean that your dog will necessarily get it, but you just want to keep that in mind when searching for a dog. And as I always tell my clients, I tell folks, like, please get health insurance. And that way, that's one way you can alleviate, okay, well, I'm not going to worry. Well, health issues you want to worry about too, because just thinking about my senior dog, even though we have health insurance on her, and I'm telling folks to get health insurance, you still want to be mindful of the medical conditions. My senior dog, she's 60 pounds. She's a boxer. Never in my life, I don't know why I didn't think of this. Like when she gets sick, she got surgery and I had to lift her. So you want to be mindful of the size in that aspect too. Your dog's going to age. They're going to become old. Can you lift them when, if you're in a home or apartment walking up the stairs? So take that in consideration when you're thinking about medical conditions as well. Also, which you was talking about too, the temperament. Also, most of us want the friendly dogs and everything like that, but not all dogs have outgoing personalities. Just like my boxer, for instance, she's very matter of fact, like, I'm not playing, just give me my stuff, leave me alone and stuff like that. But my lab mix, he's like a big goofball and fun. So you want to make sure that you look at your dog's, look at the temperament of the dog that you're choosing and making sure that's right for your, suitable for your family. Yeah. Another question to ask yourself is, what is your family like? Like they say, it's a bit like shopping for a new car. Do you want the expensive, flashy model, or do you want what the reality of your life is? Yeah, we all might want that nice looking, French bulldog or whatever, but is that realistic for your life? You need something like a lab, or that's more, a family oriented, fun and lovable. So you want to take that in consideration when you're thinking about choosing your family dog. And that's a hard one too, even for myself. Like, reality is, you go at these dogs and you're like, I want that one, it's cute. I want that one, it's cute. And you do take that, honestly, you do take that into consideration. Like, this probably isn't going to be best for my family, or it is going to be best for my family. But at the end of the day, they're so freaking cute, Scott. They're so cute. I'm speaking from personal experience. Like, it's so hard. It's so hard. It is. And so, just push for it. Keep strong when you're choosing a family dog. That's all I have to say. Look past the cuteness, because honestly, in the long run, you'll be thankful that you did that. And one of the things you want to ask yourself is about the activity levels of the dog that you're choosing. So
that's a big one.
If you're choosing a greyhound and you don't run 3 miles, not going to be a good fit. Greyhounds like to run. So you want to make sure that the dog meets your activity level. I'm a semi-couch potato, so I'm not going to choose a dog that's going to need a lot of exercise, So if you enjoy spending time on the couch, you may want to choose something like a toy poodle or a toy dog that's a little bit smaller. Maybe they can sit on your lap and things as such. But if you're active, you want to make sure, or if you're interested, if you're a runner, make sure that you're choosing a dog that can run with you if that's your goal. Because a lot of times I'll have clients say, oh, I want my dog to run with me. I'm like, well, it's kind of like a toy, whatever. I don't think that's going to work for your, 26
built for that,
Yeah. Maybe a shorter run, but not that. A big one, because I do work with a lot of families, is asking yourself, if you have kids, are you starting a family in the next few years? Making sure that you have a good family dog. And just like you said, you did so good. Like, even taking it further, like, I don't know if my kid's going to be hypoallergenic. Like, and honestly, Scott, that's a good one. Like, honestly, we're not perfect. Even myself, I'm like, wow, that's a good one, Scott. Like, you don't know what allergies your kid's going to have.
Right.
And ideally, most of the clients that call me, they're like, I'm having a baby in a few months or in a few weeks. I want to make sure that the puppy's not nipping or biting. But I haven't heard too much like, my kid may be hyperallergenic.
You never know, and you want to be able to keep your dog. And,
exactly.
You don't want to get
that one on to my list of things to talk about too. That's actually a really good one that I didn't really even consider. Also, if you're having so when you're choosing a dog for your family, again, if you're going to have kids, you want to think about, the size of the dog and stuff like that. And we'll get into the sizes a little bit more in depth into the sizes a little bit later. And you just want to make sure get the dog some type of socialization training, so they're well-mannered, and obedience training. If you're going to get a dog, especially if you're going to have them around kids, you want to make sure that, you know, you can handle the dog and the kids at the same time. They're both challenging, especially if you're going to get a puppy. So you just want to make sure, again, making sure they're a good family dog for kids. And also, do you have other pets? That's also a big one. Most dogs do well for other dogs if they're, you know, trained and stuff like that. Even if they're not trained, some dogs do well. Even if your animal's friendly, they do need to be properly introduced when coming into the home. So I just took in a foster recently, and I have 2 dogs, a lab mix and a boxer mix. And one of them is, I'll tell you a quick story. So my lab mix, he's a little sketchy with people, so I have to do a proper introduction, which means, you know, just kind of slow, you know, neutral ground.
Yeah, take your time. Yeah.
And then and then I have my senior, who she just doesn't care, and I never thought she was going to be the issue. But then when the foster came in, my senior dog went crazy. She went crazy.
Wow.
She just wasn't having it. She didn't like it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I thought it was gonna be the other dog, not her. So with that being said, even if you have multiple dogs and you think it may not be the one that's gonna be the dog giving you the problems with the introduction, make sure you introduce all the dogs to the other pets in advance. So having a proper meet and greet, you know, whether you're with a breeder or getting it from a rescue, and making sure that you know, it's calm and it's like a proper introduction, and that they all kind of get along and no one's being harmed. Because I would hate for someone to, you know, purchase a dog or adopt a dog and they have to return it because they're just not getting along. And another thing about that, it goes down to, you know, when people start the process of getting a dog, you get so excited. And a lot of times we'll look past those red flags. So even if you know, have a meet and greet and you're like, I don't know, it may not go so well, but I'm going to take the dog, you know, it's okay. Like, you know, to tell them, like, you know, can we do a trial basis and, you know, take the dog for a week and see how it goes. You don't just absolutely have to, you know, take the dog on the spot. Let them know that you do have some concerns, because ultimately you do want to have a pet that gets along with others. You don't want to have your whole home stressed out by trying to manage dogs and stuff like that. And by the way, that situation took 3 days to kind of get them to get along.
I can imagine.
Essentially manage them, kept them on opposite sides, and did slow introductions in the house. But stuff like that will help. Also, first location, going back to like living in the size of like where you live. If you're thinking about location, thinking about, do you rent? Do you own? Are you moving within the next few years? Do you plan on moving? Not all places, if you're renting, will allow you to take dogs. So you want to make sure that if you do get a dog and you plan on moving, and you just want to make sure, because I've seen clients run into this, they'll call me and be like, hey, I got this dog, and I'm finding a hard place to even go with the dog, especially if you have one of those breeds like the bully breeds, where those are most of them are on a restricted list, because they just are. Not all bully breeds are, as they say, you know, aggressive and stuff. With proper training, they're fine. But at the same time, it's just what it is. They're on the list. So you want to take that into consideration when looking for a dog. If you're getting like a pit bull or a Rottweiler, things like that, you may not find housing, or maybe 10 times harder, because they're just and I tell my clients this, you know, do not blame the landlords, because it is law. It's what they're supposed to do. Is not that it's their rule or anything. It's just the law, you know, in your state. So check your state, ask your landlord and stuff like that. But just being aware of when you're going to move, if you're going to move. Also, if you own a house, if you have a small yard or a big yard, and again, thinking about the type of dog you choose, the activity level. So you want to think about those things. Another big one, and I talk to my clients about this too, is how much free time will you have to pay attention to your dog? You know,
that's a big one. Lifestyle, right? That's a massive one. So dogs need stimulation, and that's where, you know, if they're understimulated, that's where you get into them destroying things in a home, even to the extent of where they're barking at other dogs if they're not properly socialized. So you want to think about your realistic, I call it your real schedule, not what you think in your head you can do. You often get caught up, like, I'll take my dog for a walk 2 times a day for 30 minutes. And if you're not even walking yourself, let's get there first. And like myself, I don't walk that much, but so I'm not going to get a dog that needs that much exercise. So just think about that, you know, realistically, with your kid schedule, if you have kids, your work schedule, your home life, how much exercise can you commit to the dog? And think about a dog related breed that would make sense for you and your dog, you and your especially
family.
if you're like
And if you don't have a family, are you liking to go out in the evenings? Are you a traveler? Like, if you're someone who say like make go like for weekend trips and that sort of thing, are you bringing the dog? Are you, you know, are you ready yet type of thing, right? Where I've talked to a lot of people who they tell me about their lifestyle and they're just like going out still and, you know, sleeping over wherever and friends' places and that sort of thing, or they're traveling a lot because, you know, that's their lifestyle. What are you going to do with the dog if you have it, right? So.
Exactly. And going back to when you was talking about activity level and how, you know, even though, you know, the size of the dog may not be appropriate for the apartment or whatever you live, if you're going to put in the work, that's fine. It's the same thing when you're talking about your lifestyle. If you know that you travel a lot, or if you're not going to be able to, you know, commit to the dog for us walking them, you know, be sure you're going to be able to hire a dog walker, dog sitter, doggy daycare and stuff like that, things to augment in place of activity levels and stuff like that. So again, we're not saying that you can't get a dog that's not, you know, appropriate for your location and stuff like that, but you're going to have to put in the extra work. And I always caution this too, because you still want the dog to feel like, you know, they're part of the family. You're not like pushing them off on other people. So as long as it's like a happy balance and mix, I think it's okay for that to happen. Far as going into the the sizing of the dogs and how they are, I'm going to talk a little bit about that, the small dogs, medium dogs, and the large dogs. So the small dogs, obviously they're easier to take on the go. They don't require extra large crate to take in a vehicle, and you know you can carry them. They're so cute too. And also the small dogs are like Whippet, Papillions, Bichon Frise, Maltese Terriers. You see, you know, small dog when you see them. So those dogs are ideal, like toy dogs. You carry them around like a toy. Miniature poodles are also good family dogs as well. They're silly, they goof around, they're affectionate and lovable. They are so lovable. I work with a lot of poodles and they are. So those are actually good family dogs. They're small, the miniature ones. Medium-sized dogs, it's kind of the best of both worlds because they're in between. And also with the medium-sized dogs, it's not a real potential risk of being around children. With the larger dogs, you risk them knocking them over. With the smaller dogs, that actually the children actually are really kind of the, you know, situation there. We're kind of thinking they're toy and stuff. So the medium-sized dogs, those are a happy compromise to like a good family dog, like border collies, cocker spaniels, boxers, like the one I have, which is a medium size, and they're really sturdy too. So not saying that you're gonna use them like as a kid wrestling bag or anything like that, but they're pretty good. The Beagle, awesome family dog for a medium-sized dog. They have the #1 reputation for kids in America with dogs. So they're really good kids and playful, and they love sniffing. And the good thing about that, some people drive them crazy, but you know, thinking of the bright side of things, sniffing is very exhausting for dogs, so it does tire them out. So that's actually really good. For larger dogs, people love big dogs. I love big dogs too, and they're great. Dogs for family, like the Lab Retrievers, Standard Poodles, Newfoundland dogs, Lab Retrievers are good family dogs, and Golden Retrievers. Those are excellent family dogs, and those are the dogs that ideally we train for service dogs because of their temperament, and they're very good. So when people, you know, call me like, hey, I'm thinking about getting a dog, you know, what should I get? I always recommend the Golden, just because they're affectionate, they're playful, and they're good with adults and children. They do require a lot of grooming, but again, if you're willing to put in the work, you know what? I would say this: I don't think anyone is going to get a dog that's going to be 100% what they want. Whether you get them and their behavior is not everything you expected or what you read. You know, if you get them, they're like, oh, they're house trained, potty trained. You get them, they're not. You know, so I don't think anyone's going to get 100%, but you can get, you know, close to it.
You get an idea with the breed, right? And then they're going to have their own personality, their own quirks, and that sort of thing. And that's what makes them unique. That's kind of what you want, right? But it's like, as long as you know the outline for the breed, then you have a good idea, right? So
and you know, I tell folks too, I don't think, you know, they know. Well, maybe I should speak for myself. You know, people call me for training or in general. I have some folks that will call me and ask, you know, hey, I'm trying to choose a dog. choose a dog, what's the best, how do I go about that? So you can always call like your local trainer, or I'm virtual too, so I'm available around the United States. So you can also, send me a message at Down for Paws, and I could discuss with you choosing the perfect dog for your family. The old good old Google's always good as well. But if you really do want to sit down with someone, I always love when people call me like, hey, I'm thinking about getting a dog. Can you, I want training and such, but can you help me get the dog stay on for training? That's like my ideal person, and that's like the ideal situation, getting a dog and starting from beginning and staying with the family to the end. I love that. Training is always wonderful. But back to, choosing a dog breeds, I just, want you guys, hopefully you guys getting some tips from this live and stuff and choosing your dog breeds. And Scott, do you have any wonderful tips for folks?
I would say like everything you talked about. Also, I would definitely vet the breeder, look into the breeders and make sure that once you get down to that level, you want to look at their website. You want to look at making sure they're not a puppy mill. And like good if they're letting you visit the puppies before you actually take them home or before you choose. In our situation,
tell them about this situation.
So our situation, we found a breeder about 4 hours away. Really good reputation. Everything was really good. So we got to visit 2 times before we actually picked them up. And the first time was when we chose. So we got to choose 2. We told our breeder like what our situation was. We're young professionals. We're probably going to start a family soon. And so then we gave her that information, the breeder. And so they did sensory tests, and so they could tell like what the personality was of that litter of the different pups. And so we gave our top 2 after meeting them. And coincidentally, the cutest one out of the pictures is the one that we thought we wanted. And then when we went to the visit at, I think it was the 4-week mark, that dog we played with a little bit, and Archie actually came over to us quite a lot. And we knew, just for whatever reason, personal preference, especially for my wife, she had done her little research. She wanted one of the males. She wanted a larger dog. So this was our compromise, because Archie was only supposed to be like 60, 65 pounds. And so Archie ended up picking us. At the time, his name was Midnight. He came over, picked us, played with us quite a bit. And so then when we submitted our top 2, it was the other one that we had thought we wanted. And then it was Archie. And we were like, well, I hope we actually get Archie now.
Archie, you're like,
we took the photos back and everything. And we're like, we initially wanted this one, but actually now we hope we get this one. And we ended up getting him. And he came over to us a lot, and we held him, and he sort of looked at us, and he hung out with us, and then he went and fell asleep. And so it was just like, one of those things where
it worked out.
I think it worked out, and it was just like, again, when you do your research, you do the legwork. As with most things with training with dogs, starting from the beginning, if you put in that a little bit of extra work, it rewards you in the long term.
And was the breeder around when you guys were playing with the dog too, when Archie came over?
Yes. So the breeder, what they did was they put us in a room, and then they released all the puppies, and then the mother was still there. So the mother hung out, and then the breeder was there, is in their facility. And so then all the puppies wandered around. You could play with all of them. And we mostly just sat in a circle, let them come to us and stuff. And he just kept on coming back. So.
Yeah. And I probably had a lot to do with why she chose it, because Archie came to you guys and the connection and stuff like that. And with that being said, Scott, it brings up a good point. Keep an open mind. When you go get your dog, if you're going to choose your dog, if you may not come home with the one you want, you may not end up selecting another one that's better for your family or whatever it may be. So, to wrap this up, keep an open mind about the whole process. When you're researching stuff or you're talking to people, keep an open mind. So with that being said, we'll wrap this up. I hope you guys gained a lot of helpful tips to choosing the right family dog for your family. And we will catch you guys next week for another amazing live. Bye.
Sounds good. See you, everyone.